Hi, my name is Edo, and after reaching over 900 LP Grandmaster on the US server, I decided it's time to compromise my knowledge into the Season 16 Qiyana guide that all of you guys need to climb the ladder. We'll talk about items, runes, and also gameplay stuff that you need to implement in order to properly win your games in Season 16. The reality is that Season 16 has changed, and mid lane has a lot less relative strength compared to top and bot, which means that you need to approach the game from a little bit different lens. The basic concepts of how you climb are still the same, but there are a couple of things that you simply need to know in order to win your rank games. I'm gonna start right away with the runes. We have the basic Electrocute setup, where we go Sudden Impact, we go Grizzly, Sixth Sense, or Deep Ward. All of these are viable. For me personally, I think this is a no-brainer because it's very easy to use. You don't really have to think about it, you simply have your ward up a lot more often and also your sweeper laid out into the game. And then you have Treasure Hunter or Ultimate Hunter or Relentless Hunter. These are also kind of optional, this doesn't really make a huge difference. I personally prefer having Treasure Hunter because the 50 gold can sometimes give you a spike in the early game. And you don't really need the Ultimate Haste, since Qiyana has more than enough haste integrated into her items already. Then we have the second page here, where you go, the secondary runes, where you go Presence of Mind and Last Stand. You can play around with Countdown and Coup de Grace if you really want to, but this is kind of the proven way of playing so far. This is what I personally went for almost every single game. And yeah, this is the basic rune setup that I really enjoy going on Qiyana. So usually when I do this is when the enemy team has at least 2 squishies and it's good for the matchup. So if I'm versing a short trade heavy lane, like for example Ari, maybe Syndra, maybe Zoe, you know, all those lanes, even into mages you can go this, like Victor and Orianna, it's also fine. And then or onto assassins, it's really good, like into Cat, into Talon, Zed, all of those champs, or into Fizz. In that case, I really like to go Electro, and then just like play to clean up enemy squishies in team fights, because that is your main job. Your job is not really to kill the enemy tanks or something like that. Like you don't really get that done anyways. That's why I kind of like this page a lot. The second page that we have is the Conqueror page. So the Conqueror page is really good into very specific matchups, and you simply need matchup knowledge to understand where this is good and where it's not good. So the thing is that if you are new, and this is what I usually recommend, if you are new to Qiyana, you should only stick to one setup, so you don't have to overthink it in the champ select. It is really hard to pick the right setup here and there, you know, like decide what you want to go for, what you don't want to go for, you know, do I go Conqueror, Electro, like all of that stuff can be a bit complicated sometimes. So usually I just like to recommend, if you are below Diamond and you are playing Qiyana, just go for one setup, spam that setup all the way through. It's totally fine. This will not make or break your climb. This is just something we do to simplify the journey. Let's now talk about Conqueror. So when do I go Conqueror? I go Conqueror as mentioned in very specific matchups, like for example the Galio matchup. Into Yasuo it's really good. You have a couple of mages where this is really good, like for example into Vex it's amazing because you can just run Vex down level 2 if you play it properly. You can use it into Victor as well, you can use it into Orianna. There are quite a lot of matchups where you can go Conqueror, and it's kind of just a knowledge thing. We go for Presence of Mind. You can also go for Triumph if you really want to, but you need to have confidence in your mana pool if you want to do that, and that is something which is that is quite hard to do. Even I struggle with that sometimes, and I've played over 8,000 hours of Qiyana, so yeah, Presence of Mind is most of the time the better rune to use, simply because it makes the game a lot easier for you. Then you have the decision between Alacrity and Haste. I never go Haste. You always want to go Alacrity because with Conqueror, especially in the early game, or in the early mid game, you want to weave in a lot of auto attacks. The easiest way to weave in auto attacks is by having Alacrity, because you get more attack speed, and then that makes the whole thing easier. Conqueror is a rune where you all in, so this means that people get you to low health, and then when you are low health, you want to be using your double rock Q to execute people, and that is really easily doable with Last Stand because you simply deal more damage when you are lower health. Next up we have the secondary tree, where I always go Sudden Impact and Treasure Hunter. The reasoning is quite simple. Sudden Impact is simply the most OP rune in this whole tree. It's like really strong because you can also QW and poke and stuff like that, and then just proc Sudden Impact, and it's really good for all-ins as well because it gets people into kill range a lot quicker. And then you have Treasure Hunter. I talked about this in the Electrocute page. It's the same basic mindset. Yeah, this is kind of the second page that I go for. And now it gets really interesting because we will be talking about items. Alright guys, let's talk about items. This will be a very easy and quick one. So with Qiyana, the main important thing is that you go D-Blade every single game. So I know that some people will maybe go Longsword here and there, but D-Blade is just the most consistent, it gives you a lot of health. It's really good into basically any matchup. It gives you insane stats. The Omnivamp is really good for you, especially if you're on Conqueror. The health is insane. It essentially just allows you to take a little bit more damage early game, and the attack damage is really good as well. Then you have one potion, obviously, and after that you basically have a couple of options how you can itemize. So usually what you want to do on Qiyana is you want to go for the highest damage base every single time you go into the base, okay? So your first two items will either be Profane and Serpents, or Profane and Umbral, okay? So the way I like to go about it is, if I have 700 gold, I go for double longsword, alright? If I have 875 gold, I do pickaxe. If I have 1k gold, I go Dirk. Now let's say you have Dirk and you take a reset again. Instead of building boots or something, I usually just go for the maximum AD again. If I have 8-7, like if I have enough gold for pickaxe, I go pickaxe. If I can only get 2 longswords, I go 2 longswords. And I have a lot of games where my build literally looks like this. 4 slots being filled up with Dirk, pickaxe and double longsword. The reason why you do this is because you can build Profane into Umbral, and after Profane you can finish the tier 2 boots, or the tier 3 boots, and then you can finish the last item, which in that case will be Umbral or Serpents. I think the reasoning for this is quite simple. If they have a lot of shields, you want to go Serpent's Fang. I want to talk about when exactly you go Serpent's Fang. So there are certain champions that require you to go Serpent's Fang. You have Ambessa, you have Karma, you have Ivern, you have a couple of champs that simply need you to go Serpent's Fang. If they, for example, have Yawn or Yasuo, I also go Serpent's Fang, since those two champions really like to itemize shield bow, and sometimes they even go Tabis. So like they like to go this Tabis PD and then Tabis PD into shield bow build, which is quite annoying. But with Serpents you actually can play into that and you can even win side lane. So this is kind of the reasoning for me to go Serpents. If they have like a lot of shields, like let's say they have a Mordekaiser top with his W shield, they have a Diana mid lane or the Diana jungle with a W shield, they have Nautilus spot with his W shield, they have an ADC that has barrier. You can already see, like in that case, it makes a lot of sense to go Serpents. If it's only 1 or 2 champions and those champions are not that heavy on shielding, I wouldn't really bother around going Serpents. Like usually if they have one support that has a shield and barrier, I'm already not going Serpents. Like if they only have 2 types of shields and it's like a very simple 1 target shield, I don't really go for that, right? The reason why I go against Karma specifically is because she can just shield the entire team, which is kind of strong, right? So that's kind of the reasoning behind it. How you get there is something I already explained, right? You want to go one of these 2 items, one of these 3 items. The earlier you can get these items, the better it is. So just go for the most AD possible, and the reason why we do that will be explained later on in the video, because I'll show you exactly like how you can abuse the additional AD that you have and stat check people early on in the lane. Exactly, so these are the 2 builds. You can default to Edge of Night as a 4th item, and then when you have Edge of Night, you can decide between any of these items right here. So sometimes you want to go Edge of Night as a secondary item. It's really rare. So there's one build that I do where, like when I verse Rengar, for example, what I really like to do is I like to go, and this is a very unique type of build that you don't really have to go for, but this is just something I personally do, where I go Armored Advanced Profane, I go Edge of Night secondary, and then you have this type of build. And if Rengar tries to one-shot you, he will not be able to do that. And then I go Death Stance as a 4th item, which is super obnoxious, annoying to deal with. He can't kill you, you still deal a lot of damage, and this is kind of how I go about that specifically. But I literally only do that into Rengar. Like there's not a single matchup I go Edge of Night second into, apart from Rengar. Which is not really a matchup, but just a champion, generally speaking, that's a bit hard to deal with. If he's not fed, you can still go for a normal build, of course, but this is just my 2 cents on it. So you kind of have these 2 builds, and then the Edge of Night second as well, and then you can basically decide between any of these. You can ignore the Sundered Sky, because this is just something I want to try out, so I have it here, but this is not something I really build. So ideally, you want to go for So what you want to go for is you want to go either Shojin if you don't need Death Dance, or GA, because Shojin is really efficient, it gives you really good stats, it gives you a lot of AD, insane amounts of haste, and also a lot of health that simply makes fighting a lot easier. You can also go Bastion Breaker if you want. I would go Bastion Breaker only as a 4th item though, if you simply want more damage and you don't need Edge of Night, because the stats are kinda crazy. Like, I mean, look at it, you get 22 lethality, and later on in the game you have a lot of access to gold, so it's kind of worth it to go for Bastion Breaker in that sense. Exactly, so that's basically about it with itemization, guys. There's not much more to it. Doesn't matter which rune setup you go for. I mean, one thing we have to talk about is boots. So, when exactly do you go which boots? So, you go Mercs if you play against very specific champions in the enemy team that make you win side lane if you go to boots. So, if I, for example, verse Lissandra or Syndra, it is pretty much a no-brainer for me to go Mercs because it's simply way too good, right? If they have 580 champions, you will see that I will be going for Tabis. So Tabis in that regard are really, really strong. These defensive boots are really insane, but you need to choose them wisely because they are quite expensive. And you literally get one longsword less. So if you go Ionians and a longsword, it's really good, right? Like you get 10 more AD and it's kind of a really good combat stat, especially if the boots are useless. But if they are good, you really want to go for these boots. For example, into Ryze, going Mercs is really good because he will go Tabis. So now if you side lane against Ryze with Conqueror like, and you have Mercs, you will win the side lane. But if you have Ionians, you might lose the side lane because because he has the armor boots and you don't have the Mercs. And then it becomes really ugly to play and you lose the side lane and you can't play the macro properly anymore. So another thing, by the way, which I forgot to say, if they go armor boots and they have the tier 3 armor boots, you always go serpents. Because that item is really OP into these boots, since the shield that is created is simply like reduced by serpents. So that's also one more thing that you need to know. And the itemization that I usually go for is I build the components here with like longsword, pickaxe, dirk if I have to, right? Like I just pick the component that deals the most damage. And then what I like to do is I finish my profane, and before building into the second item, which would be like serpents or umbral, I usually just finish the boots, depending on which boot it is. So sometimes it will be Mercs, sometimes it will be Armored Advanced, and sometimes it will be Crimson Lucidity, right? So in that case, yeah, like you just have to decide on a game-by-game basis which boots you want to go for. Alright, absolutely amazing. And now, after we talked about the items, we can actually move on to the gameplay part, which is super interesting. And I wanna talk about draft first. So let's talk about draft and how you should be drafting with Qiyana, and also what you can ban on this champion. Alright guys, so when it comes to champ select, what I really like to do is I like to first pick Qiyana, because she is still a high priority pick. And usually I just try to get first pick, and I ban in a very specific way. So I personally, I play Katarina secondary. And Akali can itemize defensive boots, and she can go Gunblade, which automatically makes you lose the game on the side, which is really hard to deal with. Whereas LeBlanc, which was my ban usually... So, okay, so let me talk about this differently. So I have three options for bans. In my opinion, you have LeBlanc, you have... Actually four. You have LeBlanc, you have Zoe, you have... Victor was a one for a really long time, but not anymore. And you have Akali. So, Akali, Zoe, LeBlanc, and Victor. Victor is out of the equation, so we only have with like these three left. I found a way to play into the Zoe matchup by going Cleanse and Conqueror, so you can just run her down. So we only have the two left, which are LeBlanc and Akali. If you are better than LeBlanc, and if you actually play the lane really well, you can win against LeBlanc. It's not an impossible lane, it's just a very hard one. And the nice thing about LeBlanc is that she can't itemize defensive boots, so she can't go the Tabis, and she also can't go the Mercs. It's really shit on her, because she needs the damage from the Sorks. So that means that I prefer playing against the LeBlanc with Sorks, because I can still one-shot her, comparatively to versing an Akali that has Gunblade and Tabis. Because that shit is disgusting to deal with. And also, LeBlanc will not go bone plating, whereas Akali will. So the matchup is just significantly harder to play, and if Akali is a competent laner, you will struggle a lot. So usually, I really like to ban Akali at the moment. Also because it's really good into Katarina. Like, she basically is insane into both of my champions. And she's, I think, the best assassin in the game right now. Therefore, I just ban Akali, and I just first pick Qiyana, or first pick Cat, depending on whether or not Qiyana is picked or banned. So this is usually how I go about the draft at the moment. And one more thing that I want you guys to do is ask your jungler if he can pick AP. So usually in the draft, I already ask my jungle, please, the way I formulate it is like, jungle pick AP if possible. Some people get tilted off that, so I usually add another sentence, which is like, if you can't, that's fine as well. And I just send that in, and that's it. I don't type anything else. Yeah, and that's essentially around about it. And also what I ask for is like a LeBlanc ban. So I still ask for a LeBlanc ban, but if she doesn't get banned, and they pick it, I'm fine. Like, I know how to play the matchup these days. It's just that, yeah, it can be a little bit, yeah, hard to play the matchup. Like, you need to be really intense in the game. Otherwise, one small misstep and you walk into a W range, you just get out traded, the lane is over, right? But it is playable, it's just that you need to like be a bit careful in the laning phase. So this is kind of when it comes to draft. And now let's actually talk about the gameplay. Alright guys, so talking about the gameplay, I wanna go about the theory first, and then after we talk about the theory, I will show you in-game examples to back this up. And watch the entire thing until the end. You have a lot of different phases after, like, as a mid laner, okay? So the first phase is creating a lead / a first base advantage. First base advantage. This looks different into basically any matchup that you play. Like, it really depends on how the matchup plays out. And you simply need to be on point with your spacing, with your tethering. Like, this stuff, like the spacing, the tethering, right? The ability usage, all of this stuff needs to be on point. Like, you're not allowed to play a bad lane with Qiyana. If you lose the lane, guys, or if you die in lane, or if you die to a gank, if you mess a trade up, if you lose too much health early game, all of that stuff is instantly end of review. Like, what I mean by that is you are not allowed to have that in your gameplay if you want to play assassins mid lane. The reason why that's the case is because it's more punishing to play assassins mid lane. It's still viable, you can still climb with it, I mean, you saw my OPGG, but it is not easy to do. Like, the thing is, and the reason why it's more punishing is because top lane and bot lane are are in relation to you, just stronger, right? So if you now fall behind, this means that you are even behind further than you would be in like the previous seasons, which then leads to you having a really, really rough time. So usually what I like to do is I like to play really intense in the early lane. Like, you really need to get a lead. So no matter which matchup I play, I always choose the rune setup that gets me ahead in lane, that gets me on first base advantage. This doesn't always have to be a kill, by the way. This can also just mean that you get a better reset, right? So usually what happens in higher elos is that I poke someone down really heavily with Electro or with Conqueror, and I can't fully kill them, and then they just take a base, right? And they have to TP back into the lane, which then allows me to just hard shove the wave, get longsword refillable. Also, one item I didn't talk about, you need to get refillable every single game, so make sure to get it in your item rotation somehow, ideally on the first base. If you can't, then on the second base. And then what ends up happening is I take a reset, I come back to the lane, they TP back, but since I got the trade really early, they can only buy like a refillable. And then they have like Doran's refillable, or like Sapphire Crystal refillable, whatever, and I have I have Longsword and refillable, which then leads to me having a first base advantage. And every single trade I take from then on will just be beneficial for me, alright? So, you need to build a first base advantage. If this step is not done, like if you are not getting this step done, this is already a sign for me, like, you don't work on anything after that. You need to fix this first, okay? Like, just keep that in mind. This is really important to understand. And people tell me, I feel so weak with Qiyana. Then I see they have 7 deaths and 2 of them are in the early game. Yeah, no wonder. Like, that is literally why you feel weak. You need to have a first base advantage. There is no way to go about it. Like, if you don't have a first base advantage, you messed something up in the lane. You need to nail it. And this is the first most important step. Obviously, guys, I can't go over every single matchup. I will do a matchup guide video where I go over every single matchup, but I will show you like 2 examples for one ranged and one melee lane in a moment. One ranged and one melee lane in a moment. And after your first base, what's really important, and this is something I need to show you guys, is that you need to set up vision in a very specific way. So ideally what you want to get on your first base is you want to get a pink, and you want to get a refillable potion. And what you then do is you basically place your pink ward, like, give me a second, you want to place your pink ward here, and you want to place your regular ward here. And this is really, really OP, because this allows you to, as Qiyana specifically, what this allows you to do is can I delete this? Thank you. This allows you to permanently stand on this side of the lane. So you can permanently grab grass, grab ice, grab rock, sit here, and permanently try to trade with your laner on the side that you have vision to. And as soon as someone walks into this area, you can immediately just jump back, and you essentially can't get ganked. And if they gank from this side, I mean, if you are simply aware of the minimap, you can see that quite early, right? You can just like walk out into this area, and since you have vision, nothing can really happen, right? Obviously, there are champions that kind of still make this work. Like if a Shaco, for example, walks like this and you are pushed up and then he like Qs over, that's a bit annoying. But that's essentially the only champion who can do that, right? You maybe have Rek'Sai, but honestly, if you hold grass and if you play the lane properly, which I'll explain in a moment, this is what you want to do. And the moment you want to do this is after your first base. So the reason why a lot of people mess up on Qiyana is they get a lead after the early lane, and then when they come back to the lane, they forget setting up vision, they die to a gank. Because usually when you get a kill, that's the timer of enemy jungle finishing the clear here or here. And then if you don't set up vision and you play aggressively, right, then it's like minute. I don't even know which minute it exactly is, but like they finish the scuttle, right? They kill it and then they come, they gank, and you die, and then you do the full wave, and then it's end of review and GG. So this kind of vision setup is super important, and this is something I usually try to have. Now that we talked about that, let's actually get into some examples for the lane. Alright guys, so I could be bringing VODs from myself, but to be honest, I want you guys to see how this is executed in perfection. I might have a perfect lane here and there. The thing is, Beifeng has it in like 98% of his games. I might have it in 60% or something. So I'm not gonna ego this one, guys. We just take a look at the GOAT, which is Beifeng, and we'll take a look at the ranged lane, which in this case is Lux, and then we'll take a look at a melee lane as well that he played. So I want to talk about concepts, and I want to give you guys tools so you can consistently apply this. I'm not expecting you guys to have the same level of tethering, spacing, and movements that Beifeng has, but I'm expecting you to stick to certain rules. And a couple of those rules will be explained in a moment. So first of all, you have HP preservation. I can guarantee you Beifeng took a little bit of damage here, which is okay. Like, this is kind of the most amount of damage you're allowed to take, because he wanted the first 3 minions. But now I can promise you he will sit back all the time and he will not take that much damage. I want to actually speed this up a little bit, so we're not wasting any time. And as you can see, Beifeng is literally just sitting back all the time. He's not really doing anything. We rock the electrocute setup into a ranged character here. And we just give every single minion. Now he will hit level 2 of this creep, and we insta-grab. We either try to WQ the Lux, or we try to insta-grab grass. Okay, so here he just stays full HP. As you guys can see, he's just giving every single minion, and this is totally fine to do. We play some early vision here. We dodge the Lux E, we stay full HP, we stay full HP. And now, this is where it becomes interesting. So, when you hit level 3 with Qiyana, this is where your champion really becomes strong and you can actually start laning. So this, by the way, is the spot where a lot of people already fucked up. I did like already, I think, 40 or 50 coaching sessions this year. And it's crazy, like, if I watch those coaching sessions back, what you will see is that a lot of people are here already, HP-wise. Like, literally 95% of the students that I have are now, like, I mean, not anymore now, after the session, but before that, like, the first what we would look at is literally half HP right now. So the first fundamental concept is health preservation. So HP preservation is really important. The second fundamental concept is the wave. So you always want the wave on your side. And this is something you can always manage by simply not hitting the wave. Then, and the third fundamental is level 3. And this is the third and last thing. You need to try to start looking for trades and opportunities in the lane. And this depends on the matchup, how exactly you approach this. Into Syndra, you want to bait her E, then go in. Or you can grass into grass. Into Talon, you want to walk up, get hit by his W, but then dodge the W2, and then go in after that, right? So you can proc Electro. Like, there's so many different matchups I could now talk about, and there is usually one key ability you need to think about. Like, with Lux, it's her Q. Like, you can actually dodge her E with your E, but her Q is the one that really cooks you, because she can kind of stun you and you can't really keep going anymore. You can't really keep trading. Or make sure that you E onto the Lux when she uses Q, so then you are rooted, but you can still use an auto attack in a Q. So there are like different iterations of this, and the level of your matchup knowledge will determine how big your lead will be out of the early lane. So my level of matchup knowledge is currently a high masters, low GM level, right? So this means that if I verse those players, I will probably be able to get a first base advantage. Whereas your level of matchup understanding might be on a platinum level or an emerald level. So this means that you are simply getting less leads. You can still make it work, you can still play Qiyana, but it will not be as big of a lead, right? And this is just something you need to understand. So let's play this out. So now you can see Beifeng hits level 3, he immediately looks to trade. And now he perma-grabs grass, because grass hides your intention, and it makes trading a lot easier, because you can deny the minion aggro, you can, you know, chill, sit back, and this is kind of like what you want to do. So now he wants to play off the bounce. If he can't get a kill here, By the way, resetting and getting a longsword and coming back is also fine. But you can abuse this wave state and you can try to Eon minions here, like this, and then poke. And now already you have an advantage out of the lane. A small one, but it is an advantage. And now what also ends up happening here is that Evelynn is currently finishing her clear, and yeah, what can work here is a scuttle fight, right? Like if there's a scuttle fight and you want to take it, then yeah, go for it. So let's see what Beifeng does with the wave here. As you guys can see, he's not forcing anything. Like if Lux respects, then he's gonna respect that, and he's not gonna go for stupid trades and force things. So he's just permanently hovering, trying to dodge the Lux E, staying really far back, and he's really like looking for opportunities to EQ on the wave and then, yeah, and then mess up the Lux. The thing is though that he knows that Elise is topside. So I think he played really aggressively there to bait the Talia into ganking. But as you guys can see, we are not forcing anything because we don't have to. It's that simple. So we try to get a pick on the Talia with our flash, doesn't really work out. And now Nautilus goes for roam. And yeah, I mean, with the base damage from Nautilus and with your QWEQ and Ignite, you get a kill. So now we have a first base advantage. And now I have to explain a concept to you guys, which is super important. I call it the strong and weak weak model, right? So when you are strong, you make a play. That play can be anything. That play, and I have this from a coach within the MLA that I had a session with. His name is Aledos, so greetings to you, my friend. So basically what you do is when you are strong, you make a play, and that play can be anything. That play can be getting a honey fruit. That play can be placing a ward. That play can be a roam, right? That play can be going for a skirmish or a fight. The play can be hovering your jungler, right? Like, there are so many different plays that you can go for when you are strong. Now we have to talk about what does strong actually mean. Strong means having high HP. Strong means having high mana, which is all the case, right? And strong also means having low gold, which is the most important one that a lot of people forget about. Like, you might be strong on paper, but we are sitting on 1.1k gold. So if we stay on the map here, what ends up happening is that we are really weak on the map, because enemies can spend gold and you can't. And if we are weak, we want to take a reset. And this is the basic question you need to ask yourself permanently in the lane. This needs to be a thought ingrained in your mindset permanently. Am I weak? Am I strong? Am I weak? Am I strong? Every single wave that comes in, am I weak? Am I strong? Am I weak? Am I strong? You repeat that question over and over, and then you will realize how clean your resets will become. And I can promise you, I didn't watch this VOD, I can promise you, Beifeng will take a reset here. Because what does being weak actually mean? So, when you are weak, the only play you have when you are weak is a reset. We don't go for 50-50 1v1s when we have 20% health. We don't go for random shit, no, we take a base. Because then we are stronger on the map earlier again, and we can influence the map again. So now what you can see is that, what does weak actually mean? It means having low health, it means having low mana, so essentially the same thing we have here, but just like the opposite. And it means having high gold, right? So Beifeng is currently weak. And if one of these is true, by the way, this means that you are weak. Not all three of them have to be true, one of them has to be true. And this is a general rule set you can keep in mind throughout the entirety of the lane. So now what ends up happening is I can promise you he will one-shot this wave, and he will instantly take a reset, even though he has a lot of resources. Right? So now he comes back to the lane, and he gets a Dirk, right? Why does he get a Dirk? Because it's the most efficient gold he can spend right now. And usually, I think in a melee matchup, Beifeng would have went for pickaxe and he would have went for longsword, so he has a little bit more AD. But in a matchup like Lux, boots are really OP, because you can dodge her E a lot easier, you can dodge her Q, it's very annoying to deal with, and you can run people down a lot easier because you have more movement speed. So, that's that. That is the early lane. We'll talk about this VOD exactly and how we convert leads later on. I'll go back into this VOD later on when we talk about the early to mid game. But now we'll go into a melee matchup and take a look at a Qiyana versus Talon lane. Alright guys, here we have a Talon lane that Beifeng recently played in Challenger. So this is a low Challenger, high GM lobby, so I think it's a pretty good VOD to look at. And we'll talk about how he plays the early lane into a melee matchup. So we have an Electrocute setup again. As mentioned, Electrocute is the most prominent rune right now. You will see that most people are grabbing Electrocute up these days. There are Conqueror lanes where you can definitely play Conqueror, but the lane simply becomes a lot harder and you need a first base advantage. So let's see how he plays the lane. So first of all, you will realize that Beifeng is again sticking to the rule we talked about, which is staying full HP. He is walking up to farm, But then, and this is something you can do into Talon specifically, you can skill your W, you can get hit by the W1, and then you need to W to the side of the W2. As you can see right here, he skills W, he Ws to the side. Beautiful. So even into melee matchups, you give priority, because we need the wave, rule number 2, on our side of the map. We last hit the minions here, we dodge his W2 again, and we just keep last hitting. So now we are trying to get level 2, so we can maybe get a little bit of poke done. And this is a Qiyana concept that is really important. And this is a concept you need on every mid laner, so this concept will make you a better mid, generally speaking. Talon is going for this last hit, and you want to punish people with your Qs on last hits. So you want to time your Q with last hits from enemies. So I don't even know if this will hit, but I'm pretty sure it will hit, right? Okay, maybe even if it doesn't hit, we can take a look at why it didn't hit. So I just think that Beifeng was slow. I think that he was way too slow. He should have held his Q here, and he should have waited for this minion to now be contested and then Q that. Because it was already too late to use the Q here. Because now what ends up happening is that Talon can walk up to the minion for free, and he can, see, here it works because the timing was good. But before the timing wasn't as good. And now we grab grass, right? And a fundamental on Qiyana is also that you want to have all abilities up when you hit level 3, so you can then properly trade. Okay, so we do that, we auto attack that one. Yeah, we get that done. And now we will get level 3 soon, in a moment. We Q here again. Why do we Q? We're really important because of the last hit, guys. And one more thing, he uses QW to proc sudden impact. Look at the sudden impact damage here in the bottom left. He has no damage dealt with sudden impact right now. And then he uses Q and insta Ws to the side and procs 24 damage, just like that. Now we get our E. Talon doesn't have W, and now I think you can just jump onto this guy, seriously. I think he wants to cannon, then he will try trading instantly. So he'll probably wait for the W, or try to poke out a bit more, places some vision, okay. Taking it slow, that's also fine, you don't have to rush things. And now we wait for our second W, EQ auto attack, and then W out. Talon does a good job holding his W there. So we ignite him, we auto attack him, but we simply have more damage than him. So we just get the early kill here. That's pretty beautiful. And the reason why this worked is, by the way, because we had a slightly better early game. We proc Electro in a really clean way. We pull him into our wave, which then hits him. And that leads to us winning the auto attack battle. So again, we secure a first base advantage. We could go a bit more in depth about the mechanical intricacies of this 1v1, but I think it's totally fine to just get this done really quickly. You know, show you guys how this is done properly into a melee champ as well. So we one-shot the wave, and again the same mindset. You are strong, you stay, you are weak, you take a base. He is weak, so he's not even considering to go for the skirmish, which is amazing. Like, this is very instructive. I can promise you that a lot of people would have went for this. But he says no to this play. He says, give the damn scuttle, guys. Don't contest it. And now he just takes a reset. He gets, again, Dirk refillable, and he walks back on the map. And the reason why this is so good is because he simply has more items than Tantalo now. If Beifeng would have stayed, he would have lost this entire can wave if he dies. It's a very terrible play, but he has the confidence to say no. He says no to the play, which is the right decision in this case, because we don't make a play when we are weak. That is the mindset you need to have. And now we have a first base advantage, and we have a beautiful, beautiful way to now just play lane. I think he wanted to EQ on the minions there, but this is essentially how you want to approach a melee matchup. Stay full HP, outplay the lane. As mentioned, I can't go over every single lane, guys. It's just too much. Like, there are over 50 champions that are played consistently mid. I can't go over every single lane in this specific guide. I'll make a matchup guide later on, but for now, this is how you play melee matchups and ranged matchups. And now we have a lead, and now let's talk about what we do with that lead. Alright, guys, we are back in the Lux lane. So let's talk about how we extend this lead right now. The main important words, or the two main important words that you need to always remember is health preservation. So the only time where you want to trade is if it leads to you staying full health or nearly full health without having to waste like flash or ult or anything. So what you will see Beifeng do is he will go for these trades that are really hard to avoid for the enemy champion. He will not get hit by abilities. Just because we have a lead doesn't mean we can get sloppy now. We still don't get hit by abilities. We trade like this. Do you see how we don't commit? Do you see that? Like, this is exactly how you should be playing. Like, this is executed in perfection. Let's be honest here. He just dodges everything there. But the way he trades is EQ on the cannon minion spawn right here. EQ, W out. He doesn't go for a WQ, he doesn't go for electrocute, no, he just pokes her down slowly. And this does two things. For the laner, it's really bad because they slowly become, like, they just lose more and more and more health. And simply the threat of you having flash leads to them needing to take a really bad reset. Which then leads to you taking a reset and having more gold than them because you bullied them off minions, right? So this is kind of the mindset. It's like a small wins mindset with an assassin. And the other thing that is really good about this is that you now, when you do this consistently for a long period of time, even until level 9 or 10, you are always able to move around the map. If you never use your ult to kill this guy, and you always poke him down, and I can promise you guys, people will stay, they will overstay, and you can just kill them with an EQ, WQ, without using ult or flash, this means that you can still influence the map after you even kill your laner, or after you poke them out. So you don't have to choose between laning and moving. No, you can lane in a way that allows you to move, right? And this is the first concept that you guys need to understand when it comes to the part after the early laning phase, right? Now, let's actually talk about... I'm gonna skip through this a bit quicker, so we don't waste too much time. Again, EQ, W. We don't overforce. And she's in kill range, by the way. I just want to point that out real quick. Like, if Beifeng would try to one-shot this guy on the tower, it would work out. Which she's not doing, though. So now we try to hit a WQ. Beautiful. We poke her out. And she's again... Like, now she's definitely in kill range. But we don't go for this because there's a bot lane play happening. Like, we could try to one-shot this guy. Instead, what we do is we one-shot this wave. We are still strong enough to stay on the map. We could maybe even take a base if we really want to. I wouldn't even mind taking base, but you can also stay on the map. I think both decisions are totally fine here. So he gets a plate. And now he does take a reset, or he wants to take a reset. And it does look like he wants to go for this play. Okay, so let's take a look what happens here. So I don't think he can go for his wave. So what he does here is he hits a beautiful ult on like 3 people. He gets the play done because he's really strong. And even though the wave is like neutral in the middle of the lane, it's like still a very good play fundamentally, right? And now the looks will die as well, so you can just auto tech Q that guy. And this, guys, is why Qiyana is really strong. As soon as you have a first base advantage, you can one-shot an entire team. Like, playing these skirmishes and river fights is a basic fundamental on Qiyana. And yeah, just doing that after you have a lead is really crucial. The thing is, if you don't have a lead, you are losing these fights. And that's what a lot of people get twisted, right? And from here on out, we just get into the mid-game. We'll talk about mid-game concepts later on in the next sequence of topics, right? But for now, this is how the early lane looks. This is how the first base, or like the time after the first base, looks. And now we can just have an amazing time and continue snowballing the game. And how we do that, I'll explain that in the next sequence after we talk about the Tardon lane and how we extend that as well. Alright, so let's get into the Tardon lane. Let's see what Beifeng does. Oh, wonder, we hit an EQ, poke him out, and we are still almost full HP. Like, we didn't lose that much health, and we have refillable potion and Dirk. Now you can even walk up into the tower. You can EQ auto attack the Talon. Use one more auto here, and then the guy dies. We get grass, and this is just fundamentally like so good. And now he wants to like bait the Kha'Zix into going in, but Kha'Zix is really patient here. Doesn't go for it. Because he knows that if Beifeng gets like one more Q off, like right here, if Beifeng gets one more auto attack and then Q, like one more auto attack into Q with grass and then rock W and then auto attack EQ with rock kills the Kha'Zix here. And Kha'Zix knows that, so instead of going in, he goes out. This is the levels of the gameplay, guys. I can promise you up until, like 100%, even up until like GM Challenge EU, they would probably not do that. But the mechanical understanding that some people have on the Chinese server is actually quite crazy. Like, I'm really surprised Kha'Zix didn't go for that. But again, we are weak, we take a reset. And Beifeng didn't really... It's not like he was sitting back here and was like, oh, I want to dive this Talon. No, what he did is he simply saw a trading opportunity, dodging the Talon W2 here. And now he can go for the dive, apparently. Not because he wanted this, not because he's forcing it, but quite simply put, because now, like, Talon is low enough so you can go for that, right? Which is absolutely amazing. So we push the wave, we come back. We get a double longsword. I told you guys, you always want to go for the most AD possible, especially into these melee matchups. So now instead of going for like longsword boots, he waits in base, he gets a sweeper, and he gets another longsword. Beautiful. And now we are just rock and rolling. This is really, really good. So let's take a look. We play the wave really slowly here, because we want to trade with this Talon, but in a way where it's really safe. So we grab grass, and I can promise you, like, as mentioned, I really didn't see the sword. If he E's on the minion here and Qs, this is simply how you trade. And now we W out again. It's the same pattern every single time, over and over and over. And all of these games are challenger VODs, guys. Please don't comment, oh, but this doesn't work in my game. Guys, please. This does work in your games. You just need to make it work. Again, QWQ auto. Proc Electro. Not using anything, by the way. We are just using abilities and trading in a way where it doesn't... we don't lose any health. And now, if Talon walks up into us like once, he just dies. So you can even try to ult him if you really want to. And you can kill him there. We auto-attack him. We eat one auto-attack too much there. And I honestly dislike this play. Like, I personally think that this is a mistake. Even if you get the kill, it's bad. Because Talon can just come back on the map. He's not even losing the wave, right? Like, he's only dead for like 10 seconds or something, like 15 seconds. And it's a can wave, so... I think this kill is like really pointless, to be honest. What he could have done is he could have tried to slow push this cannon wave and then dive Talon on the wave. Even if you die, that is okay. Like, that's fine. Even though you don't want to die. But then he loses a lot, right? Now he doesn't lose as much. So I actually think this was a mistake. And why? Because you use your ult. I personally would have preferred Beifeng to just try to poke a bit more. Like, I would just WQ here, literally. I would WQ, I would grab ice, and then you just continue laning, and if he takes a reset, you just one-shot this next wave, or you make him lose a couple of melees, and then you continue laning, and you even, like, increase the lead that you have. Because the reality is, guys, we are 2-0. We are already winning the game. You don't have to force things. Like, this one-for-one benefits Talon more than it does benefit Beifeng. So I think he was YOLOing it a little bit here, but that's okay, right? But that's the basic mindset after you get your first base done. I hope that that was clear, guys, and now we'll talk about mid-game concepts and how you can carry your mid to late game on Qiyana. First of all, guys, I want to talk about the late lane. So this is the time where the lane is about to end. You have the opportunity to just perma one-shot waves, essentially. And this is where you can try looking for trades, but essentially what you try to do is try to shove and move and look for opportunities and roams. So right here, Beifeng is moving, and he's probably looking to kill the enemy bot lane. And if this doesn't work out, you can either go back mid, or what you can also do is you can go bot lane, and you can just side lane from then on, right? So Beifeng decides to get one more wave mid lane, it's also fine. And now we just try to keep killing waves. I'm gonna skip through this a bit. We don't really talk about the mechanical intricacies here. This is mainly just about laning, about what you want to do on the map. And there is a concept that you guys need to understand that I will explain really quickly. And this is really important, even earlier on into the game. Like, you can do this after your first base. So whenever you press tab, and you need to press tab when coming back to lane, you need to figure out, okay, who is strong, who is weak? And how does my draft allow me to play the game, right? So as you guys can see, we have a Jace, which is pretty strong, actually. I mean, much weaker than the Kha'Zix, because Kha'Zix has 7 kills, but he's still doing well. We have a bot lane that's doing pretty well. Like, Ezreal is doing fine, and we have a Karma, which can be obnoxious a little bit for the enemy team. So top is also like even. So it does look like every lane is kind of even, you know. So now you need to be asking yourself, okay, how do I want to win this game? And ideally, the way you do this is you track the pathing of your jungler. So the easiest way to win these games, if you are the one that has a lead out of the mid lane, which you should have every game, we talked about this, first base advantage, laning, all of that stuff, you need to have an advantage. If you don't have an advantage, fix that first. Now what you do is you need to take a look at the pathing of your jungler. So if we go back all the way here, you can see that Jace is coming on the map here, and he's clearing his bot side. And the dragon is up. So now I would already think, how exactly will I play the next 1 or 2 minutes? For me, it's very clear that I'm one-shotting this wave as soon as I can. Immediately. Like, I'm just trying to one-shot this wave. And then I would insta-move bot here. I wouldn't even bother around with my Talon too much. And I would insta-move bot. Or at least hover bot lane, right? Which Beifeng does. This is exactly what he does. And now you can push this next wave, but push the wave first before you move. Which is, like, very easy to do and very fast. And now you can move back into the bot lane again and hover bot. Because your jungler is bot and you want to play around your jungle. So Beifeng hovers here a little bit. He sits in this bush. He does absolutely nothing until the wave respawns. in the mid lane. So that's exactly what he does. We get the dragon, we don't force anything, and we are back on the mid lane wave. Don't make a mistake and dive here. If Talon gets the wave in, it's really bad. So this is the late lane, how you want to play the late lane. Decide for a side, and then just shove, move, shove, move, shove, move. And just make sure you can try to trade a little bit here and there, but you don't really want to force it. Now again, right, we just continue the same exact pattern. Bot lane tower falls. This means that usually your bot lane wants to go mid lane now. So what I would be doing here is I would actually take a reset. Beautiful. I mean, guys, I really didn't watch this VOD, but it's just, now it just makes sense to me. Like, when you actually improve as a player and you start to understand tempo and how your team wants to play, it just makes sense. And now I would go bot, exactly, because Ezreal wants to go mid lane, and this is just perfect lane assignments. So we arrive bot really early. And by the way, if you overstay for a wave, this is really bad mid lane. Like, if you would have overstayed for a wave mid, this is pretty terrible. QWQ should kill. Yeah, exactly. So we kill the Draven there, that's pretty good. And now we can just continue side laning. So we continue side laning. And the nice thing about this, guys, and this is a concept that is so important, is someone will respond here. So if you can side lane, and usually if you have a lead you can side lane, you win every single time on side lane. You push this wave really deep, if you can, and we see everyone on the map. We know Draven is dead. So this is a free wave to push. Now someone will come and respond, right? And now this means if you now reset and go top, or make a play top side, or you move into mid lane, you will have a numbers advantage. I mean, in this case it's a little bit rough because our bot lane died, right? But you would have a numbers advantage, and you could move into mid lane here. In this case, we simply take a base, and we go top side. Why do we go top side? And this is a Qiyana fundamental that's also super important. We want to be on the strong side of the map, always. And currently there's not a play happening, but we see that the Herald is up. So what we want to do is we want to take a base after pushing the bot lane wave. And now we can hide in fog or just catch this wave really quickly. So I think that Beifeng will catch the wave here. And after catching the wave, we will probably either go bot lane again and keep side laning, try to pick the Talon here, or we will just stay mid lane. So in this case, you can see that Beifeng does go bot, because side laning is super important. Not because of the tower that you get, but because of the farm that is on side lane. You really want to stay strong throughout the game, and the easiest way to do that is by simply pushing side waves. So one really important thing is tracking your counterpart. So Beifeng knows that Talon just pushed his wave in, and he now has time to move into mid lane. So what he does is he pings question mark into this area. It would have been better. I would have liked to see danger pings on the face of Karma and Ezreal, but he doesn't really do that. That's okay. And now Talon shows up. We keep playing the side lane here. Kha'Zix could be here, so we gotta be a little bit careful. And I think that Beifeng really just wants to set up some vision here and maybe try to either move mid lane after pushing the wave, exactly, shove and move, or he wants to stay on the side. So he's just hovering mid. Now the wave is there again, so we keep side laning. Beautiful, we keep side laning. And you always need to ask yourself, what is the next objective? So playing around neutrals is really, really huge. And you need to answer the question, like, do I want to play for objectives? Like, very early. And in this case, Beifeng does want to play for the Drake. So I think what he's doing here is he's actually just buying time. Yeah, he tried to buy time there. I think he greeded a little bit. I think if he Qs and holds his E is a little bit better. Also, if he uses Grass Q here, it's a little bit better. But the play fundamentally was really good. And here he wanted to base because the Drake is up in like 1 minute 30. So usually, guys, and this will kind of end the sequence, what you want to do is, let's actually say Drake is up, right? And you are currently side laning on either side. Ideally, what you want to do is you want to push side lane waves as deep as you can, make someone respond. Let's say the Herald is up. Like 1 minute before the Herald is up, you want to push this wave in. Then you want to take a reset, and then you want to walk into this area, use your sweeper, hover in this area, and don't, like, just sit there. The thing is that your laner will still be bot, which then allows you to have a numbers advantage where the objective is. And this is how you can play every single objective. So ideally what Beifeng would have done here is he would have taken the base. If he gets the base off, he would take a reset, he would spend his gold, he would come back on the map, he would sit in one of these bushes, use sweeper, sit in fog so the enemy team doesn't know where he is, which is scary as shit if Qiyana is 7 and 2 and has 2 full items, right? But if Qiyana is a Chungus and has 1 item, it's not that scary. So that's why an early lead is so important. And then you can get this dragon for free. And then you can repeat the same process. After the drag is completed, you go on side lane. You push side lane waves. and 1 minute before the Baron is up, what do? We take a reset, we walk into the area, we use our sweeper, we sit around the edges, we wait for a pick, we get a pick, or we play the objective and then get a pick on the objectives. Like we just, play the team fight really well with our skirmishing. Then you get objectives, and after you push objectives, it's really important that you are fast with your decision making to go on side lane again. And then after you push out the side lane, you take a reset again. And then you go back on the map with your Baron or with the buff that you just got. And you just repeat this over and over. It's basically shove, base, play. Shove, base, play. Then you shove, base, and you make another play. And you just repeat this over and over and over. And that's how you play the entire mid game with Qiyana. And how you shove and how you make a play and where that actually is, that always depends on the objective that's actually up and that you want to play. Like if Dragon is up, you always want to be shoving in a way where you can either make someone respond topside and then take a reset and go drag, or you can do the same thing on bot side, depending on which side you are currently on and where your top laner wants to be. If you are already on the map and your top laner has TP, you can also send your top laner top. You can be bot on strong side, and then you can move into this area. He can pressure people top. And make someone respond, and then he can TP to the play, you are already there, and then you are rock and rolling. So these are the basic fundamental concepts that you need to understand in order to climb with Qiyana in Season 16. And how you actually close out games is quite simple, guys. After you get objectives, after you kill people, you kill towers, and then eventually at some point you're strong enough to kill the game, to end the game. So yeah, guys, that's about it. That is my Season 16 Qiyana guide on how you can climb. Let me summarize it real quick. You need a first base advantage. That is like number one. So this means that you need to get a lead in the early lane. Then you need to play the early lane after your first base really well. So HP preservation, which leaves you opportunities on the map. And here you already want to decide which side you want to play on. So either both of the sides are strong and you only look at the pathing of your jungle, we talked about this, or only one side is strong. And then you want to heavily ping off plays on the top side, for example, if your top side is weak, and you want to play into the side that's strong. And if both sides are weak, then you want to play into your jungler, and only into your jungler, because then you need numbers advantages to win the game. That is the basic mindset behind it. And then in the mid game, when the mid game comes around, you need to be permanently on side lane, and you only fight objectives that you want to fight. You can do this by either being strong already, so spending your gold, being on the strong side of the Drake, for example, and then moving into this area with sweeper and looking for a pick. Or you can push top, for example, make someone respond, take a reset, like 1 minute before the Drake happens, and then move into this area again, stay in fog, like 30 seconds before the Drake, get a pick, do the Drake, repeat the whole process. Push, reset, make a play. Push, reset, make a play. Over and over and over. And this is just how I have been climbing recently, from 100 stuck LP, like 100 LP stuck masters, to almost 1k LP GM on the EU West server. I'm not perfect, guys. I still make mistakes. I still have games where I fuck up my early lane. I am not yet a challenger level player, right? Even though I will get there. I can promise you that one. But it is possible. It is viable. You can play Qiyana in Season 16, but it is really unforgiving. And you really need to nail it and be on point. I hope that this guide helps you with this. And if you want my perspective on how you can climb and improve your own solo queue journey, and if you want someone to take a look at your gameplay and give you individual help, then check out the links down below for personal coaching. Or if you want to join the MLA, the best coaching community in the world, make sure to do that. And if you want to join my Discord, which is completely free, then there's a link down below for that too. I'll see you guys in the next video. This was quite an important one for me, and I hope that you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Peace out, bye bye, have a nice one.